Hi, my name is Delilah Melendez, and my presentation is on the use of animals as entertainment. My research question is, what are the long-term effects of confinement and unnatural behaviors shown by animals in zoos and marine parks? How did I get here? I first became interested in this topic after watching the documentary Blackfish. The film shows the story of captive orcas used in marine park shows and explains how being kept in small tanks and performing for entertainment can harm them. Watching the documentary made me think about how animals are used for entertainment. It made me question whether places like marine parks, zoos, and other animal shows negatively affect the animals involved. Because of this, I wanted to learn more about the issue and research the real impacts on animals. For my two methods, I chose content analysis and correlational method. First, I will use content analysis, which means I will examine existing sources like articles and reports about animals being used in entertainment. I will break the information into categories such as animal stress, living conditions, or health effects to look for patterns and common themes across different sources. This is going to help me understand the main problems researchers and experts have identified. Second, I will use correlational research, which looks at the relationship between two variables. For example, I might examine the connection between captivity and animal stress or behavioral problems. This method helps show if there is a relationship between these factors, even though it does not prove that one directly causes the other. Using these two methods are going to help me analyze existing information and better understand the negative effects of using animals as entertainment. My goal for this research is to understand the negative effects of using animals as entertainment, to explore how captivity and performances affect animals' health, behavior, and well-being, and to analyze information from documentaries, articles, and research studies, and also to raise awareness about ethical issues of using animals for entertainment. Before we discuss the arguments about animals and entertainment, it's important to understand two key definitions: animal entertainment and animal welfare. Animal entertainment refers to activities where animals perform or are used to attract visitors, like circuses, marine shows, and roadside zoos. Animal welfare refers to animals' physical and mental well-being, including proper space, healthcare, and freedom from stress. These definitions are important because the debate mainly focuses on whether animals used for entertainment are in living conditions that truly meet their needs. Okay, for literature review, one important source I use in my literature review is the article Dolphin Exploitation and Suffering at SeaWorld Parks by Heather D. Rowley. In this report, the researchers explain that dolphins at SeaWorld are kept in a small concrete tank that are very different from the ocean where dolphins naturally live. In the wild, dolphins can swim long distances, dive deep, and live in complex social groups, but captivity prevents them from doing these natural behaviors. The article also describes how dolphins are used in entertainment shows where trainers ride on their backs or even stand on their noses while the dolphins push them through the water. These tricks can put pressure on the dolphins' jaw and bodies and may cause injuries. Researchers also observed that many dolphins with scars, bites, marks, or are from fighting with other dolphins because they are forced to live in crowded tanks where they cannot escape conflict. Overall, this article argues that these conditions create physical and psychological stress for these animals and raises serious concern about whether dolphins should be kept in captivity for entertainment. For my second article, for my literature review, is the book Zoo Ethics: The Challenges of Compassionate Conservation by Jenny Gray. This book looks at the ethical challenges of keeping animals in zoos and aquariums. It talks about how these institutions try to balance conservation, education, and entertainment while being with the well-being of these animals living there. The author explains the different ethical ideas like animal welfare and animal rights. to analyze whether keeping animals in captivity is morally acceptable. Overall, the book argues that zoos need to take a more compassionate approach that considers both protecting species from extinction and making sure individual animals are treated humanely. Overall, these sources show that animal entertainment raises serious ethical concerns. Research on dolphins at SeaWorld highlights the harm caused by captivity, while broader zoo ethics research shows the challenge of balancing conservation with animal welfare. For finding and discussions, so for content analysis, I used the source, The Case Against Marine Mammals in Captivity. So this is a table showing the mortality rates in captivity versus the wild. So using the content analysis, I examined data from the report, The Case Against Marine Mammals in Captivity. The report includes statistical tables comparing captive and wild marine mammals. For example, bottlenose dolphins in captivity have a mortality rate between 5.6 and 7.4% per year, while wild dolphins have around 3.9%. Orcas show an even larger difference with a captivity mortality rate around 6 to 7%, compared to about 2% in the wild. Then for my correlational data, I compared two variables. My first variable was captivity conditions such as tank size and confinement, and my second variable was animal health and welfare, which is mortality, stress, and behavior. So I examined the relationship between captivity conditions and marine mammal welfare. In this analysis, the first variable is the size and restrictiveness of the tanks. For example, the main orca tank at SeaWorld is about 170 feet long, 80 feet wide, and 35 feet deep, holding about 2.7 million gallons of water. There are also smaller secondary tanks and medical pools, some as small as 53 feet long and only 9 feet deep. In comparison, wild orcas can travel between 75 and 100 miles per day and can dive more than 1,000 feet deep. This shows a major difference between the natural environment and the limited space provided in captivity. While researchers compare these environmental conditions with health data, they find that captive dolphins and orcas have higher mortality rates than wild populations. This pattern suggests a correlation between the restrictive living environment and negative welfare outcomes, such as a higher mortality, stress, and abnormal behaviors in captive marine animals. So for my implications, the implications of this research suggest that the captivity can have some serious effects on the physical and psychological welfare of marine mammals. Limited tank space and restrictive environments may contribute to stress, abnormal behaviors, and higher mortality rates. Because of this, the research raises important ethical questions about using animals for entertainment. It may also influence public opinion and future policies related to marine parks, while encouraging more humane alternatives such as conservation programs or educational experiences that do not rely on keeping animals in captivity. And for my limitations, one limitation of this research is that it relies heavily on existing reports and secondary data rather than original field data. Some sources may also have organizational bias, since many reports are written by advocacy groups or organizations with strong positions on captivity. In addition, marine parks do not always release complete data, which limits the amount of information available. The correlational method also cannot prove direct causation, only relationships between variables. Finally, the research focuses mainly on a few species and specific marine parks, which may limit how widely the finding can be generalized. Okay, for the oral defense, one challenge I faced during my research was finding reliable and unbiased information about marine mammals in captivity. Many sources either strongly supported marine parks or strongly opposed them, which made it difficult to find objective data. To deal with this, I used a variety of sources such as scientific studies, academic articles, and research reports to identify consistent patterns and conclusions. My findings connect to other research in the field because many studies also look at how captivity affects marine mammals. Like other researchers, my project found patterns showing that captivity can lead to higher stress and health issues, which adds to ongoing discussion about animal welfare and marine parks. And for row 7, number 4, if I had 3 more months to work on this project, I would expand my research by analyzing more data from different marine parks and scientific studies. I would also have compared more species of marine mammals and possibly include interviews or expert opinions from marine biologists or animal welfare researchers. That's the end of my presentation, and these are my sources. Thank you.